Carrie Underwood stepped onto the set of Today with Jenna and Friends to a burst of applause. Her long blonde hair perfectly styled, her sequined navy dress catching the studio lights as she flashed a warm smile. Ouch! Jenna rose from her seat to greet her with a hug, the two exchanging cheerful pleasantries before settling into the soft beige chairs arranged center stage. For the first 10 minutes, the conversation flowed easily. Carrie spoke about her new album, upcoming tour, and balancing her career with motherhood, while Jenna kept the mood light, tossing in playful comments that drew easy laughs from the audience. But the tone shifted when Jenna, glancing down at her next question card, said, "You've been in the headlines lately over comments you made about award shows and the music industry. Few people even said they felt personally called out. Do you regret any of that?" Carrie's smile tightened, her hands folding neatly in her lap. "No, I don't regret it," she replied, her voice calm but firmer now. "I just think sometimes the truth makes people uncomfortable," the audience murmured softly, sensing a spark beneath her words. Jenna tried to keep her tone even as she pressed. "But when you say things like awards don't mean what, some people in the industry take that as a jab, especially your peers." Carrie leaned forward slightly, her eyes locking on Jenna's. "If people are more worried about trophies than about making music that matters, that's on them, not me." The reaction from the crowd was a mix of applause and uneasy murmurs, the air in the room shifting as the cheerful morning show atmosphere gave way to something sharper. Jenna leaned back in her chair, her smile still present, but tinged with a seriousness that hadn't been there before. "I hear you," she said carefully, "but for some of the artists out there, those awards represent years of hard work and sacrifice. When you dismiss them, it can sound like you're dismissing the people themselves." Carrie gave a small shake of her head. "I'm not dismissing people, I'm saying the system is broken. You've got politics, favoritism, backroom deals. It's not about the music anymore, and I'm not afraid to say it." Ripple of O's came from the audience, the sound hovering between admiration and anticipation. Jenna kept her gaze steady. "But isn't there a way to say that without sounding like you're calling out everyone who participates?" Carrie let out a short laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "If the shoe fits," she said, letting the words hang. The crowd reacted with a mix of scattered claps and murmurs, the tension in the room thickening. Jenna glanced toward the producer's table for a brief moment before turning back. "It just feels like the way you put it has ruffled a lot of later's feathers. Was that intentional?" Carrie's jaw tightened slightly. "I'm not here to make everyone comfortable. I'm here to be honest. And if that's a problem for some people, maybe they should ask themselves why." The response drew louder applause from some, but others sat quietly, watching the exchange grow sharper. Behind the cameras, a floor manager subtly gestured to the control room, silent acknowledgement that the conversation was heading into unpredictable territory. Jenna's smile faded into something more neutral, her voice adopting a firmer tone. "Carrie, I respect honesty. But there's a difference between telling the truth and painting with such a broad brush that everyone feels attacked. Some of the people you're talking about are your friends, your collaborators." Carrie's gaze didn't waver. "Some of those friends have told me privately they agree with me, but they're too afraid to say it out loud. I'm not going to play that game." The audience reacted with a loud, mixed chorus of applause and gasps, the tension now palpable. Jenna leaned forward slightly, clasping her hands together. "But don't you think there's value in addressing concerns privately rather than airing them in a way that could damage relationships?" Carrie's voice was steady, but there was a sharper edge to it now. "When you've had the same conversations behind closed doors for years and nothing changes, maybe it's time to have them out in the open." A few members of the crowd let out approving shouts, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Jenna tilted her head, her expression softening only slightly. "That sounds like frustration talking." Carrie's lips curved into a tight smile. "Frustration is what happens when you care about something enough to fight for it." Off to the side, a producer scribbled a note and slid it toward the host's table. But Jenna didn't look at it. She was locked into the moment, and the air between them was crackling. Jenna hesitated for a beat, glancing at the audience before returning her focus to Carrie. "Some people think these comments might be coming from a place of personal disappointment," she said cautiously. You've had years where you weren't nominated for certain awards that people expected you to win. Is this about that? A ripple of gasps and murmurs swept through the crowd, the bluntness of the question breaking whatever thin layer of politeness had been holding the moment together. Carrie's smile vanished, replaced by a cool, measured expression. So you're saying I'm bitter? She asked, her tone low, but unmistakably sharp. Jenna lifted her hand slightly. I'm saying it's possible people are interpreting it that way. Carrie leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. Let me be clear. I don't need validation from a trophy to know my worth or the worth of my music. If anything, I'm speaking out because I can, not because I'm upset about losing. The audience clapped, though the energy was jagged, some cheers cutting through an undercurrent of discomfort. Jenna pressed once more, but can you see how it might come across differently to the public? Carrie exhaled, a flash of irritation passing over her face. Honestly, Jenna, I don't care how it comes across. I'm not going to sugarcoat the truth just to make people comfortable. Offstage, a producer shifted in his seat and signaled. To the control booth, the kind of signal that meant they were 1 or 2 exchanges away from a complete derailment. Jenna opened her mouth to respond. But Carrie was already shaking her head, a faint, incredulous laugh escaping her lips. Yep. Know what? I didn't come here to be psychoanalyzed on national television, she said, her voice cutting clean through the murmurs of the audience. I agreed to this interview to talk about my music, my tours, the things I'm passionate about, not to be grilled over some twisted interpretation of my words. Jenna tried to keep her voice calm. Carrie, I'm just asking the questions people want to know, and I'm telling you. Carrie interrupted, her tone sharper now. I'm done answering them. She pushed herself up from the chair in one swift motion, the hem of her dress catching the studio lights as she stood tall. The audience gasped, a mix of shock and excitement rippling through the room. Carrie reached for the microphone clipped to her dress, unclipped it with a practiced hand, and placed it on the coffee table between them. Good luck with the rest of your show, she said, her words cool and deliberate. At another glance back, she turned on her heel and walked toward the side curtain, her heels clicking in rhythm with the stunned silence that had fallen over the set. Phones in the audience were already up, recording every second, knowing the footage would be online within minutes. Jenna remained seated, her hands resting on her knees, watching Carrie disappear backstage, for a moment after Carrie vanished behind the curtain. The studio felt frozen, the applause sign above the audience blinking uselessly as no one seemed sure how to react. Jenna sat motionless, her lips pressed together in a practiced but strained smile, her eyes flicking briefly toward the producers off camera. A few audience members clapped tentatively. Others whispered to one another, their faces lit by the glow of phone screens replaying what had just happened.
Oh.
Somewhere backstage, muffled voices rose in rapid bursts, the sound of Carrie's team and the show's staff talking over one another, trying to decide whether to coax her back or let her leave entirely. Jenna took a deep breath, adjusted in her seat, and finally addressed the camera with her signature warmth, though her tone was edged with a hint of tension. Well, folks, live television is always full of surprises, she said, forcing a small laugh. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. The band began playing a bright, upbeat tune that felt strangely out of place in the moment, and the camera slowly zoomed out to capture the wide shot of the set. As the show cut to commercial, Jenna's smile dropped, replaced by a look of quiet calculation as she leaned toward a nearby producer. In the hallway, Carrie was already slipping into her coat, her expression unreadable as she walked toward the exit, leaving behind the lingering electricity of a confrontation that would dominate. Headlines by nightfall, *. The moment the cameras cut to commercial, the backstage area erupted into a blur of motion. Carrie's publicist was already at her side, murmuring in low, urgent tones as they wove past crew members clutching headsets and clipboards. A stage manager held the curtain open, exchanging a quick, wide-eyed glance with another staffer as Carrie swept through without slowing. Let's get the car ready, her publicist said into her phone, hustling to keep up with Carrie's brisk pace. In the control room, the director replayed the last 30 seconds of the segment, muttering, that's going viral in 5 minutes. While a social media coordinator was already drafting the show's official statement. Back on set, Jenna removed her microphone and exhaled slowly, leaning toward a producer who crouched beside her chair. "We need to reframe the next segment," she said quietly. In the green room, a monitor showed a replay of Carrie's walk-off. The audio still lived to the crew, and even the normally unflappable makeup artist stopped to watch. Outside the studio, a driver idled at the curb. Glancing up just in time to see Carrie emerge from the side door, her coat draped over her shoulders, her heels clicking against the pavement. She climbed into the car without a word, the door shutting firmly behind her. Inside the studio, the crew braced for the storm of calls, emails, and headlines that were already brewing, knowing the morning's heated exchange had just become one of those moments that would follow the show for years. Asterisk by early afternoon. Carrie's abrupt exit was all over the internet, trending on Twitter, dominating entertainment headlines, and filling Instagram feeds with grainy clips recorded by audience members. Hashtags like hashtag Carrie walks out and hashtag Genevieve Carrie shot to the top of the trending list, with fans fiercely split in their reactions. Some praised Carrie for standing her ground and refusing to play into what they saw as a hostile line of questioning, while others accused her of overreacting to a fair interview. Entertainment news shows replayed the footage on a loop, panelists dissecting every shift in body language and tone between the two women. Outside NBC studios, a handful of paparazzi lingered, hoping to catch a follow-up comment from either side. Jenna, still in wardrobe from the morning, recorded a brief social media video thanking viewers for tuning in and promising more great conversations tomorrow, carefully avoiding any mention of Carrie by name. Meanwhile, Carrie posted a single line to her own platforms: "Speaking your truth shouldn't come with an apology." The post racked up hundreds of thousands of likes within hours and became its own headline across multiple outlets. By nightfall, it was clear the confrontation had leapt from a tense morning show moment into a full-blown pop culture talking point, one that neither side could completely control once it had taken on a life of its own. Asterisk the next morning, the streets outside the studio were slick from an overnight rain, the gray sky casting a muted light over the city. Jenna arrived early, slipping quietly through the side entrance with a to-go coffee in hand, her hair pulled back in a simple bun. Inside her dressing room, she scrolled through her phone, scanning headlines and social media threads that still buzzed with opinions about yesterday's walk-off. She paused on a few supportive messages from colleagues and friends, then set the phone down, exhaling slowly as she tried to refocus on the day's new guest lineup. Across town, Carrie sat at her kitchen counter in sweatpants, a mug of coffee steaming in front of her while her phone lit up with calls and messages she had no intention of answering. On the muted TV in the corner, a morning entertainment segment replayed her exit yet again, complete with dramatic commentary. She turned it off with a tap of the remote and instead scrolled through photos from her tour rehearsals, grounding herself in the work she loved. For both women, the heat of the moment had cooled into something quieter, but no less significant, a ripple in their careers that would eventually fade from the headlines, but not from their own memories of how quickly a conversation could turn into a cultural flashpoint. Asterisk.